The word for you today. Hope you're having a good weekend. This is Saturday. Our lesson is don't be afraid of failing. You know, I've met some people who had such confidence in themselves that they'd take on anything. They weren't afraid of failing. I think most of us, though, were held back from trying new things because we are afraid of failing. In Matthew chapter 14, verse 29, you remember the story. Disciples are in the boat. There's a storm. They see this ghost walking across the water. And Peter said, wait a minute. Jesus says, Lord, if it's you, tell me to come to you. In Matthew 14, 29, Jesus said, come. Then Peter got down out of the boat and walked on the water to Jesus. What do you think Peter was thinking about when he stepped out of the boat? Do you think he thought he could really walk on water? Do you think he really believed that? Why did he even try? Well, because Jesus said, come. And Peter just obeyed. He didn't stop to think about the water. He didn't stop to think about, this is impossible what I'm about to do. He just obeyed Jesus. You know, when God calls us to do something, he's got the details worked out. When Jesus called Peter to come, Jesus had it worked out that Peter would be able to walk across the water right to him, as long as Peter kept his eyes on him. You know, God called Moses to go to Pharaoh. Moses was a nobody. Pharaoh was powerful. God called Joshua to take over leading the Hebrew people to the promised land. Joshua did not feel qualified at all. He was afraid of failing. Matter of fact, in Joshua chapter 1, verses 1 through 9, there were 3 times that God told Joshua to be strong and courageous. Joshua, don't be afraid. Be strong and courageous. So how can we allow God to eliminate fear of failing in our lives? Well, first of all, realize that God's calling can be simple. Might be simple. He may just say, Bruce, just be a good dad. Or it could be challenging. Move to a place where no one knows you and serve God there. God's calling can be simple, or it can be challenging. Either way, just obey God. Obey God and be that dad, and be where you are, or God's calling you somewhere else, just be obedient and be there. And God is going to take care of you. Another thing, God's calling most likely cause you to step out of your comfort zone. You know, if we do only what we can do, we get the credit. But if we do what only God can do, God gets the glory. And God will call us out of our comfort zone. Why? So that he gets the glory and we get to experience things we never would have experienced. You know, God will equip you to do what he calls you to do. Whatever he calls you to do, he's going to equip you to do. He equipped Peter to be able to walk on the water, as long as Peter was looking at him. And as long as you and I are hearing God, we're obeying him, and we keep our eyes focused on him, we're going to be all right. And the fourth thing, the last thing, it's okay to be afraid. It's okay to be afraid. But be obedient because God is able. And as we do it, you know what happens? That fear goes away. Why? Because we've got our eyes on God. Psalm chapter 73, verse 26 says, my flesh and my heart may fail, but God is the strength of my heart and my portion forever. We can choose to live each day motivated by fear or by faith. It's a choice each of us must make. Fear or faith. Fear or faith. They don't go together. Fear and faith, it's kind of like taking 2 magnets, turning them back to each other, and they push away from each other. Faith and fear do that. You can't have one and the other one. Not together. They push each other away. There was a guy named Tim Kiziar. He said, our greatest fear as individuals and as a church should not be of failure, but rather of succeeding at things in life that don't really matter. He said our greatest fear should be of succeeding at things in life that don't really matter. What's he saying? He's saying, live. Do what God tells you to do. Step out there. When God tells you to get out of your comfort zone and do something, do it. Why? Because God's going to help you to be successful. And that's when we really live. Sometimes we spend so much time and effort doing things that really don't matter. Is there something God's calling you to do today that will make a difference in your life or someone else's? It may not be a big thing. It may just be giving someone a phone call. But that's what God's calling you to do. Do it. Just do it. And allow God to use you. You don't have to be afraid of failing because God will equip you to do it. Have a good weekend.